I was on a Disney cruise, a 4-day cruise down in the, it was hot. And 4 days, I had to do a show the first night for the parents. 2 nights later on closing night, I had to do a show for those parents. Children, the adult show went great. I mean, it wasn't an adult show, but the show that I did for those adults went great. I was looking forward to the kids' show. 2 nights later, I'm standing backstage in this beautiful Broadway theater on a ship, and I'm peeking through the curtain. I can do it. Nobody can see me. I'm just looking at little hole in the. That'll be a great shot if you want to get that picture right there. Yeah, go ahead. No, I can hold this position right here if you want to. Yeah, okay. Yeah, but I could see everybody coming in. And here we are. I could see them coming in, and I felt this tap on my shoulder. And I have to hurry because not only are the kids coming in, but the guy's is starting to introduce me. Well, it's not a guy, it's Goofy, but he's introducing me. I felt this tap on my shoulder. I turned around. It was the cruise director. The cruise director, as perhaps you know, is the boss of all of the entertainment on a cruise ship. That's the boss. And she said, Bob, saw your show the other night for the parents. Got lots of great responses. Oh, good. Goofy's introduced. Yeah, Bob, I did notice, though, that you didn't tell any jokes. You know, yes, Bob, it's just that the kids know you're a comedian. They associate jokes with comedy. So if you could just tell 2 or 3, that'd be great, thanks. I said, whoa. I do not know 2 or 3 jokes. Honestly, I know like 1 joke. Well, just tell that then. I don't think it would be appropriate. She said, Bob, it's what Walt would have wanted. So I walked through the curtains. I stood before roughly 1,400 kids, ages 4 to 11. And I told this joke. Well, children, perhaps you've heard the one about the older woman who lost her husband. And actually, technically, kids, she didn't lose him. He died. And on the morning of the funeral, she went down to see him, to view him, to preview. You know, kids, how you see a movie? I'd see a little piece of a movie called a preview, and it makes you excited about the whole. It was kind of like that. Except not so much, really. And as she was looking at him, the funeral director came up and said, ma'am, is there anything I can do for you at this very, very sad time? And she said, well, there is one thing. As you can see, my husband is being buried in his gray suit, and I know that he always wanted to be buried in his black suit, but his gray one, but his black one was his favorite one, and it was all worn out, and so that's why I didn't bring it. But now I am feeling badly here at the end about the gray suit. I wonder if it'd be possible for you to go to the men's store and to buy him a black suit. I'll pay you whatever it costs. He said, ma'am, consider it done. Well, the funeral, kids, was wonderful. I mean, it wasn't. People were very considering the sadness of the awful day. A couple months later, she realized she had never gotten a bill from that funeral director. So she called him up and she said, "Please, sir, tell me, what do I owe you for the suit?" And he said, "Ma'am, you don't owe me a thing. As luck would have it, the very day that you came in to see your husband, after you left, another woman came in to see her husband. And her husband was being buried in a beautiful black suit. And she said to me, I'm feeling badly because I know that my husband always wanted to be buried in a gray suit. So I just switched the heads." A lot of crying. And they had to bring in the counselors. But the thing about jokes is, you see, some people think, oh, it's so easy to tell a joke. It is not. Some of you think that you're good at it. But you're not. And it's because the thing about a joke is you mess up one little thing, one little piece of timing, one little word. The whole thing is destroyed. An example. I learned this early on. I was like in fifth grade. I had heard a joke on Sunday morning after church, and my dad laughed, and I laughed, and so I thought when I went to school, maybe I could tell it there. So on Monday morning, I said to Mrs. Sears, who was very, very strict, I said, Mrs. Sears, do you imagine that we could begin our new week with a moment of levity? And because I'd been able to use the vocabulary word from that very week, she said, "Why, yes, Bobby, I suppose we could." So after the pledge, I stood up and I told this joke. There was this little Mexican boy named Fernando. And Fernando lived in a far-off city called Mexico. And one morning, Fernando found in the road in front of his house, he found a postcard that had in the dusty street, and on the postcard there was a picture of New York City. And Fernando said, "I know what this means. This means that I, Fernando, one day will go to New York City." And his friend said, "It's true, Fernando. One day we believe you will go there." But he was a very poor boy, and he couldn't afford a ticket to New York City. He kept it folded up in his pocket, and when he was a teenager, he would still take it out, and it was all wrinkled and lots of dirt around the edges. But he still said, "I will not give up hope. One day I, Fernando, will go to New York City." And they said, "It's true, Fernando. One day you will go there." But he was a very poor teenager, and he could not afford a ticket to New York City. When he became very old, having still never gone to New York City, the whole town took up an offering, and they sent him to New York City. And when he came back a week later, his friends said, Fernando, how was New York City?" And he said, "Oh, it was wonderful." And they said, "Fernando, how did you find the people there?" And he said, "I found them to be very warm and very caring. In fact, as an example, yesterday I was at the Yankees game, and I had a very, very bad seat way out in the outfield by the flagpole. And before the game, everybody was so concerned that I wouldn't be able to see. So they all stood up and they sang." No, his name was Jose. It was Jose. One little word. So there will be no jokes tonight.